Yeah. So cleansing, washing is purificational. We all have a need to keep ourselves clean, relatively speaking. So that is purificational, see, at a skin level, see. But it can also be psychically purifying too. When you're using water, there's psychic healing, psychic purification with the conscious use of water and bathing. See. It's all purificational. And we have to know that showers are very purificational for some people. See. And saunas are very purificational for others. See. So we have to use the elements for purification. Fresh air is purificational. See, so purification, as we look at it, is something that's just pretty vast. See, good water, good air, all of these are purificational. Good company is purificational. Having positive vibrations is purificational. See.
Chapter 86, which is titled "Surrendering the Body is a Gesture of Life." Surrendering the body in what way? Are you referring to disregarding or sacrificing one's body?
That's what it would mean. See, surrendering your body, putting it down. See. Body is a gesture of life, giving your life up. Everyone is doing that, but unconsciously. Everyone is in the service of everybody else. See, everyone is being used up by everybody else. See, we are living a sacrifice. To say we are living is a sacrifice already. This is a sacrifice we have been willing to make, and thus we have taken birth in this universe, right? In this lifetime. We're living this sacrifice. Our energy is being consumed, but we're not doing that consciously in all cases. We like to feel that we're living a sacrifice to our loved ones and our families, and we work towards that, and we limit ourselves to that kind of, let's say, commitment. And that's definitely living the life of sacrifice. Bodily, emotionally, psychically, mentally, and spiritually to some degree. You put your life on the line. The mothers put their lives on the line for their children. And others do that for your loved ones. So this is something, when we're talking about this kind of gesture of life, then we're talking about living a life of sacrifice beyond the norm. See, surrendering the body then is giving your body up completely, giving it up. See? What's that? Very few can do that. Some do that. Some do that. Some give their body parts up. For what, after they pass, they want to give their body parts up. Some give their body parts up when they're alive. See? So this is interesting. How much of yourself and your body are you willing to give to others? It's a very good point. Yeah.
Is there a good and a bad side in war?
Well, the loser's always on the bad side, I think. And the winner's always on the good side, they'd like to think. But there's no real winners. They're mostly losers, I think, in terms of the war. See? When we think of the damage, see, and let's say it's just the causes of war sometimes so crazy, so ridiculous. But war is a necessary part of the material modes of nature. Conflict is built in. See? So, is there a good or bad side? I say be on the winning side if there is such a thing. The idea is to survive it. See? So the good thing is if you can survive it. See? But it is nothing that's easy to survive. I mean, just the thought of war for some peeps is a very painful idea. And then to have your family involved in the war, that's excruciatingly painful. See, so there isn't really all that good we can say, except, the wars are necessary, in some cases more so than others, and some are more meaningful than others, and many are nonsense, just crazy. Warfare for what reasons? See? Warfare for warfare's sake, that's abuse and wastage. See? It's wastage. It's better to be without it, but it's something that is natural, so we have to make sure that if there must be war, it must be minimized as much as possible.
What happens when war and faction share the same kind of God?
This is a very paradoxical situation. When you have people of the same religion calling on the same God to give them the power to do what it is that they want to do, which is to destroy one another. I would have to say that's insanity, in a manner of speaking. Okay. It depends on what your God is. If you are subscribing to the God of wrath, then maybe you need more wrath to get your job done, whatever that might be for you. But I think that if we look at it in a certain way. You see that, well, the god of wrath is really Lord of destruction. It may not be the Lord of life particularly, but it depends on the individual's evolutionary position in the unfoldment of spiritual intelligence and consciousness. It's not really an option for most people, but if you have to do it, then you have to do it. And you have to confront it, and you have to put your life on the line. And make sure it's meaningful and purposeful to you, and that it's something good enough for you to die for, if that's what you have to do. But otherwise, it's really the hell of hells for the most part. Right.
Are heroes really heroes, and are cowards really cowards?
This requires a very, very intense kind of analysis, because we've seen it often in the press and elsewhere. I mean, I was part of the military operations some years back, and there are those who were rewarded for things they said, well, they did, but they didn't do. Okay, and there are many who have been rewarded, and they said, no, the heroes are the dead ones. The heroes are the ones who gave up the ultimate sacrifice. So these are really good questions that there are no real hard answers to, but they are really good questions. Because we have to just look at what a coward is. Is that an honest person who says that they're not going to do something under certain conditions, yet that very same person under other conditions shows up as heroic, but under certain conditions. And this is true of all beings. You have a hero under one condition, right? Forced to take arms and made out of fear, to fight for his own or her own life, and they are rewarded for it because they seem to do the right thing to help other peeps and save other peeps, and all of this is perfectly in accord with heroism. And yet, they may not feel that. They may feel that they were so terrified. And in themselves, they may say, no, I was a coward in a manner of speaking. So it's really hard to judge that. See? So we know that heroes are those that have courage, that step up to it, and take what comes with it. And then you have others who are heroes who are not quite that. And then you have people who are cowards, but then they are courageous in other ways. So it's a really hard thing to call. See? You have to be in combat to really understand the subtleties there. See? One moment a person seems like a coward, the next moment is heroic, but who's watching and who has a medal for that person? Maybe the coward that gives you the water you need, see, that hands you the water can, see, your canteen, see, maybe the coward that says something to you because they don't have the courage to stand up, but they say something to you that gives you power. See, could be that one that gives you the moral support you need. But then who's the hero? You have to consider what is a person worth that we're calling coward, and what is a person worth that we're calling hero?
Is the end of the war the very end of the war?
Well, we'd like to think that the end of the war is the end of the war, but there's no end to war, because there's no end to conflict, because there's no end to ignorance, there's no end to suffering. So it seems that war is just an outgrowth of a lot of these failures, these weaknesses, non-communication, selfishness, greed, politics. I mean, all of this is understood by most peeps. We go to war for strange reasons, and disguised purposes. So we are sometimes deceived into war, and we need to know what the war is really about for ourselves. We need to know what we're really fighting for. Is it really our war? Is it someone else's war? Is it really because we are in urgent need of defense? Are we really threatened to have to fight? And these are very good questions, and it's not necessarily moral questions. As such, they're questions of character. What do you want to fight for? Is it something that you would lay your life down? I'm sure in many cases there's more than we would think. Even in those who say, I'm not going to fight this war, but I'll fight another war. In other words, they have principles. So we have to be able to understand that there's some men of principles that are stronger than you who want to just take up arms and follow the herd. Say, well, I'm courageous because I'm following everybody else. See? And so we find different peeps at different levels, even in the midst of war, doing different things to distinguish themselves. Or disgrace themselves, right? All kinds of shenanigans. The hero on one score is a thief on another score, and is a wretch in another way, is a pervert in another way, and yet everyone wants to see the medal. And it is important And then, you know, he may be abusing his family, maybe negating his family, but he has the medal, so everybody has to bow down to the hero, and yet he could be despicable as a human being, simply because the situation urged him to do something. And I'm not questioning the integrity of real heroes and those who have fallen in combat, but we're talking about real situations. Well, you got a person who take the medals in some cases and doesn't have an ounce of love in him for anybody. See, so, you know, we can applaud and glorify the hero who's heartless and who's really a natural born killer. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this is the, I guess you might say, the paradox of heroism in some cases. Go on.
Do soldiers of war progress while they kill and maim others, especially those innocent in the eyes of spirit?
It really depends on the internal and psychic condition of the individual, see, because I don't know of a better place to wake up spiritually than war, see, in combat, see, or in the military, see? Because it goes back to our core values. It takes us right back to the Stone Age. We've had to struggle and fight for our evolutionary, status. We have had to fight for our civilization. And I say, let the warriors be warriors, let the artists be artists, let the priests be priests. You know? And each one do what they feel they're here to do to the best of their ability, so they can take the next step.
Are those in the heat of battle or in combat more prone to have out-of-body experiences?
And that I would have to say definitely yes. Okay. Because when you're under the intensity of combat, and we have been historically in that position, so it's not like you have, especially families where war, you know, in other words military families where they have generations of veterans, that's in the blood. So you already have war in your genes and in your memories that's passed on to you. Sometimes that makes you a better warrior, sometimes that makes you a different kind of person completely because you have that. See, we have to use that experience differently in everyone's case. See, because war is never waged in one battlefield or in one dimension. The war we're talking about in terms of the real war is in the heart. The real war is in the self. The real war is in self-division. See, the negative and the positive in the individual. The war is the conflict of the soul. See? And so that's where it really is fought, because you have people who find peace in the actual situation of genuine combat, where they come into their focus, see? And they know exactly what they need to do, and they're ducking all kinds of bombs and artillery shells and grenades, and they're at peace, you see. And these are real warriors. And all the glory goes to these people, you know, blink an eye. I mean, they feel the pain. Some of them are blown to pieces, and some of them have critical wounds, but they don't think about it, see. So these are heroes, when they encourage you to keep going and do your best. These are also heroes. Don't wait for medals, see. And they just move the people on, inspire people. See?
Is there progression to be had in war?
Yes. So spirit works in strange ways. And when we're talking about the heat of battle, I mean, there are all kinds of awakenings that are going to happen during that time, all kinds of visions, all kinds of experiences that people are going to have at that point, because you're right on the edge of life and death, so it's really a fertile place to be. See, you don't know, you're there in the midst of death, and you're there, you know, living at the same time. So that's really a prime psychic soil for visions, see? Insight, revelation, and awakening. See? And so there's a lot of progression because of the stress there. You start to see things you never imagined. See? You start to understand the nature of humanity, understand the nature of survival. You understand the nature of cruelty, barbarianism. See? You understand the nature of war for what it is. See? You see it. You understand the nature of suffering. You understand your suffering. You understand the nature of the suffering of the enemy as much as the suffering of your friends. You see it as the same thing. See? You start to wake up. The suffering is suffering. They're not suffering any better or worse than we are suffering. See? And often you find situations where you are in combat and all of a sudden you have an opportunity to kill the enemy. You have a one-on-one situation with the enemy, right? But there's something that happens. You stop because you see yourself in the enemy. And he sees you, and you both stop. And you see you're both victims of circumstance. See? And you both refuse to kill each other in that moment because you have an insight that you're looking at you. He's looking at himself. You're looking at you. You're in the same place at the same time in the same predicament. So you have some kind of awakening. See? And you realize you can kill, but you don't have to kill. See? Because you don't want to kill you. See? And that moment you see you're killing you. And in very stark terms. So it's a paradoxical, great psychological dilemma to be in.
Chapter 87 is titled, "It's Easier to Die Than to Give Up the Mind." Can one's beliefs about life and death while alive in the physical body carry over into the afterlife and act as a hindrance or barrier to the spirit soul's progression in the spirit world?
Yes. Yeah, so, yes, karma carries over. If you listen to what is available in the public right now, and you see that there are a lot of spirits who are ghosts. I'm not saying that's all that there is to the being, but there are ghosts in our midst who are still living these karmas of their past life. See? And they carry over into the afterlife. And whether or not we're talking about phantoms that are just shells of the beings who they were when they were alive, that's to be looked at more closely. See? And sometimes these particular karmas do act as hindrances. Any repetition of karma is going to be a hindrance. See, the idea is that we're here to progress beyond what it is that we've been, advance ourselves. See, in terms of habits, let the old habits go. I mean, we've been children, we need to let that go. We've been adolescents, we need to let that go. Then we become mature adults. Then we need to keep moving on. I mean, we're moving towards death. The idea of having a death before you means you can prepare for it so that you can be in some kind of resonance with that, so that you have a graceful parting of the worlds. See? Leaving your people, your family, and moving into the next world with dignity, see? The next dimension. So not like you're going to the dirt, you're not going into the grave. See? None of us really know that. See? We're just going to be dirt again. We're not dirt. See? We've never been dirt. We're born of the earth, but we're born from the spiritual world into the earth to go back to the spiritual world. And that scientifically will become more obvious as time goes by. There'll be more evidence of this fact. Yeah.
Is there a way to break through one's fears, illusions, and delusions concerning life, death, and spirits while still alive in the physical world?
Yes. The idea is to have a grasp of what the spirit is. See? Yeah. Once we understand what the spirit is as the immaterial, that makes it much easier for us. See, we are originally spirit, and we're in the body. This is very basic, fundamental. We are responsible for the body. It is our vehicle. It's not who we are. We have to change the language about that. See? We are not the body. You can cut the limb off, but you're still here in the body. You can cut all the limbs off and you're still in the body. See? You have your awareness, and that is basically what you are, fundamentally awareness. See? You are awareness that is in the body, using the body, and paying debts, and moving in a direction that enables you, let's say from a certain viewpoint, to complete a life mission. In conjunction with other peeps, or in coordination with other beings, in collaboration with other beings. So we're here as a team, working with others, see, a unit, a system, see, a circuit, a circle, a family, and you work with them, they know you, they support you, you support them, and then it's over. And you finish what you have to do here, and you move on. You move on. You don't go down. You can't be put down. See? You can be left on the earth, so you can be a wandering spirit or someone who's attached to the earth. See? So you are more or less gravitated towards the earth. You have a payment here, or you have a mission here. We can see these as possibilities for some of these spirits that are wandering. You become a wandering spirit. But you need to be told to move on, because that's your nature. See? You need to be helped and guided to move on into the light, or depending on where you are and who's helping you, they have their own ways of doing it. See, to help you to advance and move forward, to get out of the rut you're in and the stuckness wherever you seem to be sort of disabled, see momentarily. And that's a karma of compassion. So blessings goes out to all those peeps who are stuck and waiting for guidance to help them.